Okay. Turn me up a little bit.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the meat stall. Find you some meat and smoke it. Today we're gonna be doing some dry brine beef ribs. Went down to the butcher and wanted to do something a little bit different today, so I picked up some beef ribs. Normally I don't. Normally I usually do pork ribs because personally I think that the payoff for the beef ribs aren't worth it. But these are pretty meaty. Also got some rib tips that I'm doing. I usually like to get the full spares, cut the tips off, vacuum seal them, freeze them, and have them for some good snacking. Once you get about 3 or 4 of these bad boys together. Well, the first thing I'm gonna do with these beef ribs, I'm gonna take that pesky membrane out the back. I've seen a lot of people. Some people leave it on, some people score it, some people take it off. I'm part of the later group. I'm of the take it off group. So what I like to do is grab my butter knife, and I like to go right there on the bone, right up between the bone and the membrane. I get it, and I pull it up and make me a little pocket. I try to do this in the middle of the rib. Some people do it at the end of the rib, and a lot of times you will you won't be able to pull it off at one take. I take my knife, put it on there, go about 2 bones like I'm doing here. I go about 2 bones, make me a nice good pocket. And I take that and I pull it up. Now you need to grab you a paper towel, because it helps you grab it better. You get that paper towel and let the tugging begin. One thing that I noticed, that beef rib membrane is a lot tougher than that pork rib. I tried to get it off all in one, but as you can see, there's a couple more pieces. A little piece of hard fat right here in between, so I just kind of dug that out, looked it over. Everything looks pretty uniform. Okay, so now I'm looking my rib over. Where I put the membrane on, I got a couple shiners where it may give way during the cook, but I don't anticipate that being a problem. So now let's go on to salting these bad boys up. What I'm doing today is I'm doing a dry brine. And usually in dry brine, salt is rubbed onto the surface of the meat and it's left to diffuse inward over time. Because at first the salt is going to draw the moisture out, but then it's going to suck it back in. And when it sucks it back in, it's going to take those salt molecules deep into the meat. The smaller the meat, the less time it takes. The thicker the meat, the more time it takes. For instance, let's say if you're seasoning some shrimp. Shrimp may only take a few minutes, where if you're seasoning a brisket, in order to get that salt down to the center of that brisket with a dry brine, it may take a few days. One rule of thumb to remember is when dry brining is a ½ a teaspoon per pound of meat. Now you have to take in consideration of the bones of the meat. That could be a guessing game. There's a mathematical equation, but I really don't know it right offhand. And if you're using table salt, you want to use a ½ teaspoon per pound of meat, because it has a higher salt concentration. And one thing with dry brining, if you use this dosing chart that I said, you can't over salt it, because whatever you put on is going to end up inside. Now the catch to that is that you may not cover every piece with salt, and it may leave you with some spots that's unsalted, unprotected. So some people would think that wet brine may be the best way to go, because you can get every nook and cranny, and also they say that it contributes to the moisture in the process. That remains to be seen. I'm not saying anything against wet brining, because I like wet brining as well. It's just a new technique that I want to try today and to see how it works. Here I got my rib tips. I'm just going on with a simple mustard to hold the seasoning, and I'm going on with some Weber's honey garlic rub, which is a pretty good rub. I like that. Regular old kosher salt, coarse ground black pepper. You'll see how I'm doing this Texas style. So I'm just taking this coarse ground pepper, salting the meat, trying to remember that if you're 8 inches above, then you can get more even coverage when salting. Now it's on to the smoker. I got the Masterbuilt warmed up to 250, and today I'm cooking with some mesquite wood. Here they are after they have been on for about an hour, and I'm going to my go-to for mopping, stubs. If you get a chance, get you some of that stubs and use that mopping. I love it. I love it. The ribs got good color on them. I'm very pleased with that. Raise it up just a little bit so you can see that. It's good color. I almost got and getting a little bit of pullback on them. Let's go a minute and let them go for a little bit longer. Here, it's been about 3 hours. About 3 hours of smoke is about enough smoke that is that the meat is going to take. So with the tips, I'm just going on with some parquet, some brown sugar, and rubbing them up. I did all 3 of those, and next I'm grabbing my paper, and I'm going to do the ribs. The liquid that I choose to use today is just the mopping sauce from when I mop my ribs. I go down with a little parquet, take the rib. Now here, I chose to use mopping sauce, but you can use Worcestershire, you can use beef broth. Maybe it provides more liquid to make it braise a little bit more to get a little more tender, but they came out super tender the way I tried them right there, and I love the extra flavor that mopping sauce gives them. So we repeat the process, go on the top with the parquet, and then we go on with the mopping sauce. And that's that Stubbs mopping sauce. I don't know if they sell it in your area because I have to kind of search it out to find it sometimes, but y'all know you can get it online if you go looking for the mopping sauce. Let's wrap this rib up. I had a little time wrapping it up. I should have made my paper a little bit wider. Here's my son, little future pit master in the making. I would say he's asking about barbecue, but you know him, he's asking can he get in the pool. I got all the meat done, wrapped up. Then we're gonna go back on the smoker. I want to say an hour to 2, but basically I'm gonna play it by ear until they're tender. They end up being on there for about an hour and a half. The way that I test them for tender, I had my probe, and I was going in between the bones of the ribs, and I was probing the rib tips until I didn't get any resistance from the meat, and I knew that it was tender the way I wanted, and I feel that it's nice and tender. We take that off. Let me set that down on the block. Now you can use this sauce, you can put it inside of your barbecue sauce if you're making homemade barbecue sauce, but I chose to just discard it. Here, open up these ribs. They smell awesome. The shiners didn't really give me any problem as far as holding together. They're super tender. They smell amazing. And the drawback, ooh, that bone was hot. The drawback is what I'm looking for. Perfectly cooked. In all intents and purposes, you can eat this rib right now if you wanted to. But me, I'm gonna put it back on the smoker and I'm gonna let it tighten up a little bit. So all right, let's go back on the smoker. I can put them on the same rack now. They kind of drawn down a little bit. The bone's trying to come out on me right there. Get on there. Get back in that smoker. 250 under that mesquite. Take a look at that. That's no sauce or anything. I really like to put the sauce to the side because I like to let my meat speak for itself. Here we go. After being on the smoker for another hour, I got the rib tips and the beef ribs off the smoker, and I'm cutting these cowboy cuts because like I said, a lot of times with beef ribs you don't really get that meat that you get on the pork ribs, because when they butcher them, they rather take the meat for the rib eyes or for the steak. So that's usually why you don't have the meat on that beef rib. But these here was somewhat meaty. Let me cut up these rib tips. As you can see, that knife just slides right through there. You know, really no effort was given. These things were super tender and juicy. And flip it around for you and continue cutting. You can see I almost overcooked them a little bit because they almost fell apart. But hey, these things was outstanding. All right, here's a final taste of what the dry brined beef ribs are like. So I'm gonna see if I'm gonna be doing the dry brine or the wet brine on my meat from here on out. So my wife gonna taste some of the rib tips and the beef rib. All right, gonna get you some. First, the rib tip. How's it taste?
It tastes really good. I really like the sauce on it. It's not really dry. I don't know the concept of that, but
so it's juicy.
Yeah, it has juiciness to it.
How's the bite?
It's an easy bite. Doesn't take a lot of chew.
I didn't put any sauce on it. That's just brown sugar and margarine. No sauces on there.
Well, you can taste the sweetness of the brown sugar.
Yeah, I like that. I like the aspect.
It's a little light. It's not really a heavy taste on it. It's very light. You can't really tell. You can taste the sweetness. You can't really tell what it is, but you can taste the sweetness. That's very good.
What about the smoke flavor?
Smoke is there, but it's not strong. It's not a overpowering.
That's what I was shooting for.
Taste.
All right, now try the beef ribs, which I don't do too much beef ribs because a lot of times you don't get a lot of meat, but for some reason these here was pretty meaty.
Very medium. Very good.
It's a good bite.
Yeah, it's an easy bite too. It's not a lot of work. It tastes really good. It's very juicy.
Let me see if I can get a close up on that. So
You see it all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Very good. A+. I really like it.
All right. This was a successful cook. All right, this is the Meat Star. Catch you guys next time. Remember, find you some meat and smoke it.
Okay. Turn me up a little bit.